Hey, Ellen, I want to welcome you to BCB Live. We're the safest station in the nation. And Dave, we want to start off by saying, hey, congrats to you and your organization, the association, for 15 years of women in trucking.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's this month. It was March of 2007.
Wow. You know what? And Ellen, I want to talk a little bit about that. When this started back in March of 2007, I would like to hear, maybe some of your early challenges, and then maybe in this with one or two, maybe three of the successes that you've already accomplished or that you've accomplished in the last 15 years as well.
So the first challenge was getting recognition. When I tell people, women in trucking, they thought we were a magazine. They didn't realize we were a nonprofit association. And they also assumed that we were only for drivers. And I tell people we're not women in trucks, we're women in trucking. And so the goal for the first year was to hit 500 members, and we did. So apparently we struck a nerve in the trucking industry, and people realized that there was a need to bring more women in. But over the 15 years, I think some of the things I'm most proud of is our conference. Just before the pandemic, our last conference, we had 1,100 registered attendees, and about 85% of those are women. So when you go to a trucking event and it's mostly women, it's kind of, it's different. It's all good.
No, that was and we got to attend your event here in Dallas that you had last year. That's when Whitney made her debut as well, right?
That's right. That was a long-term vision, to have a driver ambassador, a tractor trailer that could go around the country and people could come in with a hands-on learning environment. And there's touch screens in there. It's like, what are the myths about trucking? Do I have trucking in my DNA? What other jobs are there in the industry? And then in about 2 weeks, we're getting a simulator put in there from ATS. Oh, wow. They've donated one. So we'll have that at the Mid-America Trucking Show in Louisville later this month.
Oh, we love that. Big fan of the simulators. I think it gives the people a feel, and I like that because it's going to give men and women both that go to attend these things, get inside hop inside that trailer, get them a feel of what it's like to be out there on the road. Because Dave, as the next driver, there are some major challenges that go with just driving a truck.
Yeah, and it's kind of, and when you talk about major challenges, I want to hear what are some of your biggest challenges today that you're facing out there when you're in your organization?
Well, the biggest challenge is that women just don't picture themselves in the trucking industry. When I talk to women all over and I'll ask them, how many of you in high school or college said, I want to work in trucking or supply chain? And rarely do people raise their hands. So we have to change that. We have to get them thinking about careers in the trucking industry. We created the Girl Scout transportation patch, a supply chain patch that little girls can earn. It comes with an activity book that talks about how the grain goes from the field to the bakery in a truck and from the bakery to the packaging and so on. But we need to get people to understand how trucks relate to them personally. And I think during the pandemic, we got a little touch of that where people realized that it was their toilet paper and their hand sanitizer on the back of a truck. But I just don't think people associate their personal lives with the trucking industry enough. And that would be our biggest challenge, is to get people to understand how important this industry is.
Yeah, and there's no doubt we saw a major, crunch. And we continue to hear about the supply chain. Ellen, you and I spoke last week, and you touched on a subject that's near and dear to my heart already, and that's the security involving the tractors, right? Just in general, you brought up a point, and I want to talk about that because, we've got to start working with the, these truck manufacturers on creating a truck that's much like our house, that has some better security to let us know when somebody's inside that. Because, Ellen, to your point that, we've got to make sure that the truck stops at these rest areas, that they are more secure for all these drivers out there. But as we start to bring more women in, isn't that another item that we've got to also, make sure that we have addressed the security inside these tractors?
Oh, absolutely. And safety and security is very, very much a primary value for women in the industry, personal safety especially. And so we talked a little bit about this, but the safety, there's three parts to the safety aspect of a company. And the first is how well maintained is their equipment? You don't want equipment that's going to break down because that's not safe. Yeah. And then secondly, where are you sending the drivers? What part of town? How is it a well-lit area with security guards, or is it a dark, area that, nobody wants to go in? And then third, does the driver have the ability to say, no, I feel uncomfortable driving in that area because there's a tornado or a protest or a snowstorm or something? So those three things make up the safety and security. But going back to the cab of the truck, people always think of the truck as a truck instead of as a home. Yep. And so we've challenged the manufacturers to put in like a security alarm system. I have one in my home. So if I'm not here and somebody tries to break in, then the police will be here within 2 minutes. And so we need something either on their phone or some, that if somebody tries to break in while the driver's either in the truck or in the truck stop, it doesn't matter. If somebody tries to break in, an alarm will sound and someone will be called. So we need to do that.
Yeah, and you brought that up, and I want you to know that I immediately after our conversation, we talked to two different manufacturers about the same thing. Let them know that you were at one of them not too long ago, and they talked about, Dave, the
alarm.
The alarm inside of it, and
panic button.
The panic button, and it gave me a really good chance to say, hey, it's too late at that point, right? What about it's a house, and Dave, you were at lunch when we were talking about that. I think it took them a minute to realize it's a home.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to express to them by being a former driver. Look, that is your house. That is your home. That's where you not only do you work, but it's also where you sleep. It's where you eat. It's where you change your clothes. It's where you do everything. And that 8x12 area, you need to feel safe in it all the time, whether you're in the captain's chair or whether you're in the bunk. You just need to feel safe, or you're not going to be doing well. I mean, the stress and all that other stuff will compound your ability to drive well too. So, when we talk about that, I think that's not, and I think women bring it to light, but I think it's a real thing for everybody. Right? I don't think it's just a women thing. I think this is a real issue that you're bringing to light in a way nobody else has.
Well, yeah, because women are telling us that they're either putting the seatbelts around the door handle, women and men, putting their seatbelts around the door handle, or heaven forbid, 25%, we did a survey of over 400 drivers, 25% of them are carrying a gun. Now, do you really want your drivers carrying a gun? Do they need to feel like they have to carry a gun in order to feel protected? And then they talk to each other about, carrying a tire thumper or carrying, something to keep themselves safe. Well, they need to feel safe. You wouldn't want to go to your job and say, well, I only feel safe half the time. We need to make sure that they feel safe all the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Ellen, when we talk about, and you brought up a great point there about and I think it's a cultural thing within trucking companies. How do we, as a trucking industry, and I know we have a lot of things we work on all the time. We're working on turnover, and we're working on, the safety culture of a company. What are some points that you can give to us that can make us think a little bit different about a driver? And because you brought up a good point, the respect level that says a driver, and it can be a male or female, doesn't feel comfortable with going out to this location. It's not well lit. It's not a very safe location. There's protests going out there. What about us on the dispatch, on the back end, the support side? What are ways that we can change our mindset to realize that we may be sending them into an unsafe area? Because so many times I feel like we treat a load that it just has to be on time, and we forget the human aspect behind transportation.
Well, drivers have to have some way of providing feedback. And so I know a lot of companies on their apps, they're letting them give feedback on a shipper. So does the shipper have Wi-Fi available? Does the shipper allow pets? Does the shipper have a restroom available? Things like that. So if you allow the drivers to give you feedback, on your customers, and know not to send them into a place that, might not be safe, then, let the driver decide, but let the driver give the feedback.
Yeah, that's a great point. And for the trucking companies out there that watch us, I'm just going to go out there and give me a second to talk to you for a second. That means you've got to have action. When you see these comments from any driver, from a driver on a shipper receiver, you, the salesman, you, the VP, or whatever that is, you've got to take that information and do something, because what we are hearing when that is a driver saying, I don't feel safe at this location, and we must take it and be that messenger for these drivers to the shippers and receivers.
Absolutely.
So, Ellen, one question for you that I do want to hear is...
It's fun.
Go ahead.
Okay. I was just going to say, I've sat in on driver meetings where they've told the carriers, this company won't allow me to use their restroom, or this company treats me like this. And the carriers are just incredulous. They're like, why didn't you tell us? Well, sometimes you need to go ask them.
Or have a venue or an avenue in which they can feel like they can tell, not just their dispatcher, hey, I was there, but a place to record that information, right? A format in which the driver, and you can keep a good record of the information. When you do this, how big of an association are you? We talk about it. How large of an association do you have right now? How many members?
We have about 6,400 members, and that's individual. 6,400, and that's corporate and individual. So if a carrier joins, they're counted as one. And actually, we're in 10 countries, believe it or not, mostly in North America, but we've got members in Australia, New Zealand, Japan, and South Africa. We've got a lot of members in Africa. So they want us as a resource. They want information from us. So yeah, we could grow much bigger, but I'm happy. 6,400 is not bad. So far.
Very good. And you know what? A great job, especially in your 15-year. So, Ellen, I'm going to take a minute here. So, for us, BCB Live, it's about safety. Our why for BCB Live is because we feel like the drivers out there, they need a better support staff from us on the behind the scenes. And yes, we have to get some more, safer drivers. We got to talk to them about some of the decisions they make. We have to just do a better job of educating. That's our big why. We love it and we're passionate about safety. Ellen, 15 years ago, you created Women in Trucking. You're the founder of Women in Trucking. What is your why for doing that?
I've always had a passion for the people side of the industry. The trucking industry really isn't about trucks, and it's not really about freight. It's really about people. And so I've been in the trucking industry since 1979 when I earned my diploma in traffic and transportation management. But for me, it's always been about the people. And I really felt that the industry wasn't tapping into a resource such as women, and that the industry wasn't doing a very good job of saying, these are great jobs, and you make the same amount of money as a male. And 15 years ago, I would hear from carriers, oh, we just hired the best person. We don't care about their age, their ethnicity, we don't, or their gender, we don't care. And then I'd say, well, then why are your uniforms just for men? Or, trucks were only designed for men. The showers, remember what the showers were like? It was like a locker room. There wasn't even a place for a woman to take a shower at a truck stop. So it really wasn't a level playing field. And we didn't have any data. So now we have a lot of data. We have lots of information on safety and turnover and things like that. And the industry has found that women make very good drivers. We just need to attract them.
Awesome, man. We love that. We're excited. Ellen, I want to thank you for being part of BCB Live. One thing I do ask, and we ask this of everybody, is we'd love for you to say your name, your association, Women in Trucking, and say, thank you for watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
So I'm Ellen Voie, President and CEO of the Women in Trucking Association. And our URL is womenintrucking.org. And I want to thank you for watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
Bam! Ellen, thank you so much for joining us today. It's our pleasure. And you know what? We can't wait to get this video out. For those that are watching it live right now, we see tons of thumbs up. Thank you, Ellen, for what you do. And let us know anytime that we can be there to help or get any kind of message out you need as well. All right.
All right. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to tell people about women in trucking.
Thank you, Alan. We appreciate you. Thank you so much, Drive Safe Dave. What a phenomenal association this is, and as we said, a very powerful association.
And growing. And you talk about that many members, you're talking about a very, not only a powerful force, but a political force, a movement, and I hope that it continues to grow and brings great information and great changes to the industry.